Hello, this is a piece for a quilt and I'm just going to add it to some other pieces. So I'm sewing a number of these to create a Dresden plate. Now I'm not teaching you how to make that. What I am showing you is this little bit of thread in between each piece. We call this chain stitching, feeding one after the other. Let's face it, thread's expensive, so you're going to save a bit of money and time rather than drawing fabric through the machine, clicking it off at the side or pressing your automatic thing which ties a knot into the fabric. You use less thread overall. But here's this thing that I bought. This is by Easy Quilting. I had to hunt on the internet for it a number of years ago, but it might be available here. It's like a little pyramid, just a bit of plastic, and in here is a little blade. And we just take the thread and cut. How simple is that? Lovely. Now you don't want to see me doing all of these, but you know, I'm getting through them pretty quick. So could you imagine if you are making lots of other pieces in a quilt, and there's hundreds of pieces that can make a quilt. Bit of a time saver, this one. And immediately after you make up some of your quilt pieces, it's a little bit like dressmaking. In fact, it's a lot like dressmaking. We have to use a trusty iron. I have this little iron, which I bought from Duronic, and I think you can still get on their website. It comes with very handy little gadgets for doing velvet. But do you know what? This cost me £15. It looks very similar to a lot of the other craft irons you can get out there, which are £39, £40. So shop around, shop around. Duronic, that was a good one. I'm going to press this on another gadget, and this, if I can show you, I'll bring it to the camera rather than you coming to me. It's not easy filming all these things, is it? This is a wool mat. I saw an advert on Instagram by Love Sew. I purchased this mat, and I purchased a lot of thread keepers. Should I show you the thread keepers as well? Maybe another time. What I love about this mat is that this is a steam iron. You turn the steam off. With this mat, I can put it onto the surface here of my desk. You get a really hot, good flat press of your cotton fabric, your quilting fabric. Very good in your dressmaking too. And the wool seems to throw the heat back into the fabric without steam. So you don't get a pool of water. If you use the steam, you get a pool of water onto your desk. So it's not good for the desk. The mat ends up damp, your fabric ends up damp. You don't want to do that. So dry iron, good press. Do all your pieces, excellent. And to prevent you burning your fingers, buy one of these. I have no idea what they call this. And in the crafting world, when I did card making, everybody had all sorts of pokey tools. Pokey tool, I think, was a Dawn Bibby phrase, which has stuck. So I think she probably markets a pokey tool. This is made by Clover. It has a silicone end and it has a nice sort of pointed tip. Why is this useful in quilting and dressmaking? Here we have a seam, and it's so, you know, it's your typical 1/4 inch seam, and it's so fiddly, especially late at night. I've not got my glasses on. So this is very good at just gently pushing that seam open. But that's a very short seam, and if I want to give that a little steam press, let's say I put it over the end of here and I want to give it a nice press with my iron. Well, you know, it's awkward to hold and I could easily burn my fingers. So this is where you use the silicone end, and you can just hold your fabric in place like that and use your iron. No burnt fingers. Hey, win-win. So, what have you seen? Little cutter, a wool mat, a puppy silicone tool, and a little iron. They make the job so much faster, so much easier. Let me just show you a couple more things. I use a lot of these decorative threads, which are quite silky and slippery. And unlike the old Silicone threads and coats threads that used to have a wee cap with a notch in it where you could put the thread through the end and hold it together, this is nothing. I don't know what other people do, but I use these sort of thread tamers or thread capturers. I'm not sure what they're called actually. Thread tamers? If you're going to Google it, Google thread tamer, that's a starting point. And I couldn't do without these spool holders. This is what they look like. And they're perfect for this kind of spool because this end, it's silicone, it's quite squidgy. Push it together, push the legs together and push it into the top end, and this holds your bobbin. And if you're like me and you jump from one project to the next, but you like to have a grab to of thread with a bobbin ready to go, that's always quite handy. And it suits, you know, different sizes of bobbins. You know, these are the fat ones, but I use them equally on the wee skinny ones. Right, in fact, there's one there. These seams, I said to you before, these are very narrow seams, but actually, to get a nice point on them, you need to cut into the corner. But these are a bit wieldy for such a tiny seam. So I could use these. These are the normal sort of snips. We use them on the sewing bee. And I could use them. They kind of catch a little bit. So I have these. These are a tulip pink. They're absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful colour. But can you see, these are micro serrated. And they just sound so satisfying, but when you use them, works every time. Just push that open, hold the point and push it through. Oh yes, how satisfying is that? So, thread catcher, bobbin holder, and for me, for the small projects, these little prestigious scissors. Not cheap, but quality that's going to last a long, long time. And there are various people up and down the country that stock these. But hold your breath because they are not cheap. Quilters love their rulers. In fact, the last one I just used for this project was a Dresden ruler. However, my friend Jen Hogg, Jenritz, created these rulers. This is one of the first ones, and they've now developed, I think she puts little messages on them, and I've got a little bee on mine, and I've got some very useful bits here. And for dressmaking we've got 1.5 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 1 inch, and what's unique about this is Jen had always been looking for an inside angle and an outside angle, and I can't remember where she used it most often, but if you go to her website and if you look at her Instagram account, Jenritz, you will see various ideas of how to use this one. But for me, when I do embroidery on a blouse, it was about the placement of the design, just getting it absolutely spot on. This is a very useful tool. I will put some links down below. There's a subscribe button there. There is a wee click to my Instagram account if you want to look at some of my makes, and you will eventually see my quilt completed, I hope. Good night, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.